Hey guys, I'm Minh Le here and welcome back to another speedrun video in my channel. So you can see here that I am already 1384 and I think we need one more game to cross the 1400 barrier, right? So in this series, obviously we're here to learn and we're trying to play some lines that, I think is quite instructive and I can teach you guys the thinking process, some ideas, which I believe will be a good things to learn for the audiences. You guys can feel free to ask me questions after the game finish or during the game, and we'll try my best to answer all of those after the game finish or in the analyzing process. Sure? So don't need to waste you guys' times. Let's start the game right away. Okay, here I got the game here. This guy named Baralopsh 3 from Russia. So I have played e4 with white, I think in the last two speedrun videos. Today I played d4, e6. So here we can play e4 again to get the game into a French. But I guess that I won't play that. I will play just like c4 to get the game into the Queen's Gambit. Because I played e4 last two times, let's play c4 I guess. The Queen's Gambit, b6, okay. This line is rarer a little bit. But in fact, people sometimes still play this line. The idea for black is to develop bishop here quickly enough and trying to put pressure on the diagonal. Here, so white has many ways to play. For instance, you can play like a3 or knight f3 and c3. Both are available. This line, I think, is not super common, but a thing that you can surely face at some point, right? I will play the main line. The main line. Okay, e4. It's the main line right here. Should be 3. Okay, when a pawn should be 4 and kf1. c5 is pretty rare. The main line here is bishop b4 when black play kf1, which I'm pretty sure this move was, I think, mentioned by Wesley So, I think in 2016 against Jobava or somebody else, I forget. But this line, I think, was considered to be already good for white nowadays. Although the king here is not that castle yet, but the center here can compensate for it, and the king can try and get to g2 later on. c5 is somewhat rarer, so the thing here I will do is like d5, when I can be able to block this bishop and get more space in the center. This pawn push is also pretty typical in the Queen's Gambit, when black just trying to play c5 to fight for the center. d6, knight c3, time to develop. a6. Okay, so now there comes a good question. Here, so white can choose between knight f3 and knight a2, right? To develop. I'm quite sure that both are available. Knight f3 is fine. Knight 2 is fine as well. But here, I realize that black is somewhat down in development, right? He has spent some moves with his pawns, so he is slow in development. That's why I will try to go for some sorts of idea to put pressure on him later on, f4, right? Like by trying to expand on the king side. So knight f3 may prevent my idea to play f4. That's why I play knight to g to e2 and ge2. g6, castles. And now f4. As you can see here, because black really didn't spend time here to, I think, develop, I will try my best to launch the threat right away. f5 here is a tether mistakes, which hangs the pawn, right? But here, so I think my threat of f5 is already pretty annoying at this point. So it's not easy here for him to suggest a move. Like here, for instance, right, f5 is also very annoying. I suppose black is fine here, but I'm not so sure what he can do the best. Maybe e5, I don't know. Maybe knight d7, not so sure, but this is annoying already. f5 now, just take here, looks good for us. Win a pawn. This pawn now become a weakness, and this pawn here really, I think, is good at restricting his positions. f4. The question now is what we will do in order to take back and recapture the pawn, right? Both of these two moves here looks possible. The question is which one is better, I guess. Here, so I will take the bishops. First, I open up my queen to target this pawn here on d6, right? Second, after bishop trades, I believe that these light squares can become weak and my pieces can try to exploit, right? Obviously, the main thing is that right now the pawn here becomes a huge weakness. And with that, black is also in serious trouble. I can even think of like knight to c3 knight d5 later on, trying to take the outpost and put him in big trouble. Bishop d4, he closed the file temporarily, but sadly after taking with the knight here, now he is even in bigger trouble. His rook here is trapped. At this point, he is already lost, you know? So it's not really easy to suggest anything good for him at this point. Knight f6. Take with the knight here. You can also take here as well too, to simplify the game and go for a winning endgame. But for me, I want to go for the attack. Finish this work here professionally and make sure he have no chance to survive. King e7. Okay, now we need to find a way to finish him, right? Just a story at this point. So once again, we can play various moves. F5 is my first instinct, to be honest. I think it's very, very strong. I think I will do F5. It is the natural way and a thematic way to attack, you know. Open up every files and diagonal as possible and get the way open to his king. I think the better move here may be knight d5 and then queen g7 to cut off his way to come back for the king. But the f5 here looks, I think, much more natural. f5. Also here, I want to get my pieces into the attack, right? Which you can see here in the game. Things now looks terrible. Okay, now so it's time to wrap up the game. Knight d5 checks. It is called double check, right? Double checks. Must play here, and now it's time to win the queen and finish the game in style. He resigned without waiting for the mate here, but it is already over, right? It's already over at this point when he can't defend things anymore. Okay, so we got to 1400, which is, I think, a pretty nice idea here. I hope that we can be able to keep up the winning point, right? Overall, I think that at this point, so I am considering that when we reach like 1400, we may try to just play with one opening only for white and with black, because I want to make you guys learn the idea better, right? I think I may start to only play d4 with white. I think so, because you guys can learn things better. But obviously I can also play e4 because I know the ideas quite well, so it is what it is. So now let's go back to the game here and let's try to mix the analysis, right? So back to the game here. Okay, so time to review the games, and you guys can feel free to ask questions where you think you want to learn more. So by one moment. So by d4, 6 here, I can play e4 to get the game back to the French, which can be reached via this move order, right? But here I play d4 in the game because I'm the guy that, I play e4 before, so now I think some changes may make the series becoming more fun and interesting. c4, b6. Obviously here black can play various things, right? d5, knight f6, c5, you know, one other things even here is available as well. But I guess that we may come to see these kind of variations in some other games, because I will surely come back to the Queen's Gambit, right? b6. This line is somewhat rarer, but definitely a playable stuff. Here, I think there's also one line that I also play myself some blitz game, like a3. If I play knight c3 here, like I'm bishop b4, pin my knight, and somehow he wants to weaken our structures, you know. That's why here a3 is also a common idea. So here knight c3, I think the main line is like f5, I believe. Knight f6, knight f3 will get the game back to the queen's inner defense. When black can play knight e4 or d5. Both are normal theories. In the game, I play e4, which I think right now is known to be the best way to deal with this line for white. Should be 7, should be 3. So during the game, I have mentioned briefly that the main line here is bishop b4. Before come back to the game continuation, I want to tell you the ideas of black. Sometimes, sometimes, if you play like here, black can play f5, which is his main idea here to attack this diagonal, right? So the main idea here is if you play here, and the rook seems to be trapped, isn't it? But this one, in fact, is known to be wrong already, because white here has this very annoying checks, finish 5 checks. King e7 lose the game because the queen can check here and then win a bishop, isn't it? So let's play g6. It takes here, and now not just you take a pawn, but you want to play here or play here, which somehow can't be stopped. So h1, play here, we have a new queen, isn't it? Now f6 also result in the same manner. I think here they just also play the same, g7 and queen, and now you can see as well too that you are up, I think, 2 pawns. I mean, like, you're up a pawn only, but the black king is in serious trouble, right? So if I here, I think it's not a line. I'm pretty sure about that. So I think the main line is bishop b4, kf1, when somehow white get a very strong center. I'm pretty sure in the game between Wesley So and Butter, I think in Butter, I believe. I think Butter like bishop e7, I think so. I don't know. Forget the game. In fact, I just remember at this point. I'm quite sure in the game. So like here, and like here, I think so. Here, like here, when you see, right? White got a very strong center and he can't reverse by any means. So in the game here, c5 was played. So d5. The idea here of this move is to restrict the bishop on d5, on b7, and also get some more space. This pawn push here can also be seen a lot. Let's say even here, right? For instance, when you trying to keep your center strong and also trying to just get some more space for your pieces. So this is how it is, right? So in the game here, d5. If you text here, we can take you. Normally, I think this is the best way to take with this e pawn. When you open up the e file and you get plenty of space in this position, right? You can think about attacking here on the king side when black will struggle to develop on the side of the board. In the game, you play here d6, and c3, just keep on developing. a6, and g2. As I mentioned in the game, so this one is also available. But when I realized that black is somewhat low in development, I want to launch an attack. But I miss f4, right? So knight f3 will block the pawn, which make my plan not that easy to be executed. So knight g2, I think makes more sense here at this point. g6, castles here, and then f4. So I don't know what we can do here, but this is looking really quite tough. In the game, I don't think I should play e5, I don't know, but I can just like maybe play here, right? And I can launch, I think, a very strong attack here on the queen side. Maybe pieces this way, lining up on the f5, I think so. This is already tough. Even like here, for instance, right? f5. When I think here, what should be strategically winning? This is a threat. It's a threat. It is a threat. It is a threat. This is not a threat, obviously, but it can also be a good move. Like everything here will looks good here for white as well. So in the game, you play f5, which is a terrible one. Allow me to take here on the 6, right? And this pawn here is under pressure. If you play like knight here to defend a pawn, just take here, and now, for instance, knight to g3. When this pawn here is also very, very weak, right? Castles, finish 5, and this pawn now is, I think, will be losing this move. So at this point here, everything is already super tough to play. Can you play a 4-pawn game? In this line, so it is somewhat harder because here, so f4 is not easy to be done since the pawn here on e4 is in such a pressure, right? So that's why I play here. I think here you may try to play in the game, right? You can f4 right away as well. You can aim for this, I believe, which is also playable. But I think I just want to show you the way here to deal with less ideas. I think the most direct and straightforward, right? So this one I think is also available, but I just want to go for like castles first. Make sure your king is safe, and then push forwards, you know? In the game. So here, knight e2, here, castles, 57, f4. Play here, which is wrong as mentioned earlier, right? Now his position kind of collapse. e4, bishop e4. Other mentioned in the game. Other mentioned in the game as well too. By this, we can try and open up the d file and weaken these light squares. So from what I explained and from the ideas that I mentioned throughout the game, it black to like 96 here. So guys, what do you think you can be for white? What do you think is the best idea for white at this point? Which I think is very understandable and typical in the meantime. White is much better, obviously, but now there are many ways to continue with the attack. It depends on you guys here to go for the moves. I'm not so sure which one is the best right here, to be honest. But I feel like, you know, maybe you can try to go for some direct approaches. Maybe. I don't even know. Knight d5 is good, I guess so. When you got a strong knight in the center, get a strong outpost, and can put pressure seriously on the black's position, right? For me, I think best way to play is to go f5. When you can try to just open up the file here, right? Make sure all the lines and even like diagonals against the king is open, isn't it? And for instance here, we met it instantly with this typical queen checks. So I think f5 here, or knight f4, taking here, and now things looks terrible, right? In the game, it will be right away, but here, so knight e4. Now this pawn I think will likely to fall, and things are looking very, very bad. He play here, which I believe he want to temporarily block the d file, but this one is also very wrong. In the game, now we won lots of material and finish the game fairly easily. f5, f8, g5 in the game here. It's one, and then now in the queen, and he resigned, right? I think that this one may be a better move, which is what I mentioned in the game. When now his king can really move up or move down, right? And lure his king up is a very typical idea to attack when your opponent's king is weak, you know? But I just like, okay, so maybe it's hard to understand, so just go for some typical approaches and go for the win without something difficult, right? Also, I set up some small trap. If you play like here, I play this move, and now mid is inevitable, right? Which is also my main plan. So in the game here, it's just like a game that was fairly theoretical at first, but then my opponent here play f5, which is a terrible choice. But for me, the main thing here is that he spends so many pawn moves, so many moves with the pawn, you know? So when I play f4, he start feeling something was scary with f5, which he tried to stop it right away, but that was a mistake. Also, my opponent here, he thought a bit too quickly, which I think somehow doesn't let him time thing right in the game, and that also is a huge problem, isn't it? Okay, so once again, I hope you understand the game. I hope that you find my explanation instructive enough, and hope that you guys can understand what I'm talking as well too, and hopefully you can learn something from the game. Sure. So guys, first, final things, let's ignore about the picture of my opponent. That was obviously not looking very good, but okay, please only look at just what, right? Thank you and appreciate that. Finally, thank you for hearing and listening to me. Hope you got a good time, and see you in next videos. Peace.